Boys, welcome to the Rise Up podcast, the number one lacrosse podcast in the world. I'm your host, Danny, not Seibel, Danny Healy. That's right. You know me as the guy that got shit on at the end of the episode last week. I'm the producer, behind the scenes. I know a little bit about lacrosse.
This episode is called Danny's Revenge.
Danny's Revenge episode. We're talking PLL draft. We're talking conference championships in college. We're talking bracket preview and picks for round one. Let's go, boys. Let's have a night.
Hey, Danny, let's hurry up, get this over with. Just plug your own podcast real quick.
I have podcast experience and lacrosse experience, so this isn't some. I'm a substitute teacher for Sives. We love Sives, but I played at Colgate. I know the game, and I'm a podcast host. Pass the torch. Check it out. You'll love it. But let's dive into lacrosse. Let's
do it.
So PLL draft happened right now. We're recording Tuesday night. We're on pick 29 as we are going right now, but the big news of this draft, Scotty, for you who haven't watched a single pick, Greg, I know you've watched every pick. 3 defensemen went first in the first 3 picks. What do we think there? I think that's the first time that's ever happened. I think the first time a D went first overall was 2001 in the MLO.
Yeah, and we were just talking about how deep this draft is. If you would have told me this time last year that 4 defenders would go in the first round and none of them would be Chris Fake, I wouldn't have believed you. And that's how incredibly deep the defensive talent is. This is the deepest defensive talent draft I've ever seen in pro lacrosse. And, we're talking all the way back down to Chris Fake was just picked at round 3, I believe. And that's just by the Water Dogs, the last pick of round 3. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty incredible.
I mean, I think that kid's going to be the best one out of all of them.
We'll see.
Adler is an absolute freak. Owen Grant is going to be able to either play close or LSM for the Redwoods, depending on how John Sexton is feeling. With the loss of Hartzell for this year, that's massive. What I'm most impressive, I'm just the Atlas defense. Atlas taking 2 defenders, 2 of the top 3 defenders in the draft with picks 1 and 3. Absolutely no one saw that coming. And that sets them up on defense for like the next 8 years.
So with that being said, offensively, they're stocked, right? And they're young. I think the last couple drafts, they've gotten what they wanted. Defensively, though, how old's Tuck now? Tuck's got to be 33?
They're at least 33.
So he's a vet, and he's getting a little older, so they're preparing for that, I think,
Well, I totally agree. And I also think that they went out, and then let's talk about the Atlas for a second. They went out in round 2 and they picked up Xander Dixon, who is an absolute stud on offense.
But also,
they grabbed Peyton Rozenka in round 3, one of probably the best short stick defender in the draft. And they are set up, man. They really did a great job of covering all the bases.
So, I talked to Kincannon 2 days ago. We always shoot the shit. He was talking about his relationship with Press. He's like, I've talked to Pressler. He's all about, I'm a vet now. It's kind of funny because Jack's a vet now. So it's like they're set there. Press is like, we believe in that position. That's all set. Now, I think offensively, Dixon, he is something they haven't had. Like, they've had a lot of ball dominant offensive guys. I mean, Chris Gray needs the ball in his stick. He carries. But Dixon's going to be an off-ball guy, which they haven't had, honestly, in a while.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, too, is they picked up in the 4th round with their final pick. They picked up Kyle Long. Shout out to Springfield, Pennsylvania. What up, Delco? Attackman from Maryland, who's a really good player, but kind of undersized. So it'll be interesting. I mean, the depth here is crazy. The guys that are getting picked in the 3rd and 4th round of this draft, I feel like would have gone in the 1st or 2nd round in any other year.
Hey, any goalies go yet?
Not
0.
A single goalie.
Your position's dead.
No, it's not dead. I think it's just literally
impossible to crack.
Dude,
it's just impossible to crack. That's a real shout out to how many good goalies are in the league right now.
Oh yeah.
If you told me, okay, which team really needs a goalie, wouldn't be able to pick one for you.
A starter now.
Yeah, no. It's tough. So yeah, let's go team by team on this. So the Atlas first pick, they shored up their defense for the next decade. They picked up a hell of a shorty D-man. And then I think they hit all the bases. The Redwoods are I think did a great job too. They only got one pick in that first round. They had Owen Grant second from Delaware, who I said is a stud. I think he can play close. He can play long pole. I did a lot of CAA games over the years, and I just watched him play for Delaware. The kid gives me Brody Merrill vibes. He's everywhere.
What's his size? Because I know Delaware's been known for athletic dudes.
He's a big dude.
He's
a big dude. He's tall. He's rangy.
Yeah.
He can play close really, really well. But then, I like him for the Redwoods because they're going to be losing Glaze next year.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a really smart, intelligent communicator back down there. And in the interim this year, he can play LSM with Sexton. And then the following year, they can bump him down, if Glaze does in fact leave.
Who'd the Whips take?
So, let's stick with the Redwoods just for now. And let's get they have Owen Grant. Then they picked up Tevlin from Notre Dame, the midi. Nice. Great pick.
He's like a two-way guy, right?
Two-way guy, can dodge, can create his own shot.
You know who he is? He's Jack Neer.
Yeah. Great comparison.
That's it.
Great comparison.
Yeah.
And then they got Cole Kirst in the third round from Cuse, who you can't find a single person on earth who doesn't love playing with that guy. I think he's going to be a phenomenal locker room guy. So they got some good offensive presence. They got one of the best defenders in the league. And then to finish it up, they picked up Zach Cole, great career at St. Joe's, phenomenal kid from the Philly area. But he is a bigger body. And TD struggled last year, or especially early in the season. And the way these faceoffs are called in the PLL, they let these guys beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
And that's something Nat and I have always talked about since they picked up TD. We're always worried, like, man, they're letting these guys bludgeon TD to death, and he's not a big dude. So you bring in Zach Cole, who is a big dude. He doesn't have the hand speed that blows you away.
Are we talking big like Connor Farrell big?
He's not as big as Connor, but he's bigger. He's like a Nardella size.
Nice.
So he's just strong, right? And he can take a beating, but he's an absolute savage on ground balls. So I like the Redwoods.
Hey, we've talked about this a lot in our pod. The rookie adjustment for a faceoff guy with the timing, the whistles, the leniency. I just think picking those guys, like you said, I think there was two guys last year that you were like, just give the kid a chance to get going. And I just don't know if they get that much time because it's a short audition.
Yeah. I mean, think about the MLL, right? For years, the MLL, we had 3-time All-American would come in. You'd be like, hey, you ever heard of that guy? Yeah, he's the man. Well, he lasted a half.
Dog, Greg, the best story ever. Mike Hama, who is the D2, he faced off like 85%, war paint. He comes in the machine, first game. He went 0 for 25, and he was literally losing his shit. I'm like, dude, this isn't college. No. It's just, it's different, dude, you know?
And here's the other thing, too, because it was like this in the MLL for years, where the rules are so different and lawless that you come in. I remember I came into training camp, and we were like, the first faceoff, Steve Hoare blows me right, goes straight to the goal, and I'm still in my stance, and I'm like, and they're laughing at me, and BJ O'Hara's like, you don't wait for the whistle in this league, man.
Greg,
I think you're what am I supposed to do? No one told me.
Yo, Heels, when he says lawless, I'm talking like Chris Eck and Jeff Schneider would wrestle in a circle for like a minute, and then one of them would thumb the ball. They just go like this, tick, and like shovel it out. It was a fucking Wild West.
It was crazy, and now Maddie's kind of done that to the PLL. So not only do you have the same thing, but in the PLL, you're lined up differently. So even the way you line up is different. And we also have to remember, these kids have only been facing off standing for 3 years.
You had to
so they're going to go against knee-down guys, and the wings are a yard closer. So, yeah, there's a lot. I thought coming into this draft, Sisselberger, LaSala, and Rowlett were hands down the most prepared just by style and size to face off in the PLL. But Zach Cole is going to get the benefit of going into camp with TD, learning the ropes, getting used to it, and he'll be there if they need him. So, I think both of those teams have done a great job. And then when we look at the Chrome,
you know what's funny though, Greg? You know what's funny is that Ryder last week on the pod was like chirping that mock draft about the Woods drafting a face-off guy, and here they are getting a face-off guy.
But TD's going to be grinded out from that indoor season.
And he's going to Worlds too, right? Which overlaps.
I actually talked to Nat St. Laurent today, and we were talking about that. And I remember in 2018 when we did that, we had tryouts, our final tryouts. Then we had a doubleheader in the MLL in the middle of the summer. Then you go to camp. Then you have the All-Star break. Then you're right back to it. It's brutal. So having that other guy is huge. Now, there's a big difference between the Redwoods taking a face-off guy with the number 2 pick. Whoever wrote that article needs to be fired. And instead taking it with your absolute last pick after you've gotten everything you need. I mean, Nat St. Laurent gets an A+ on this draft. Now, speaking of A+, what do you guys think Sudes was doing when he found out that that Sam Hanley fell all the way to 4 right into their lap?
Did you watch his reaction? It was awesome. He was like, "This is a gift. This is a gift to get this kid."
He's like, "Are you kidding me? This is hilarious."
Because he was the surefire. He was the surefire number 1 pick.
Sam Hanley is a Tewaaraton finalist, arguably one of the top midfielders in the country. Not arguably, definitely one of the top midfielders in the country.
A big guy from Penn.
He's a big, hard-shooting, truck-sticking kid. And he fell to number 4. Everybody thought he was going to go number 1.
Scotty, he's bigger than you.
False.
So Sudes got Handley, which was hilarious. Because look, remember they're going to lose Nectarine this year, so it's huge.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they got Hittinger from Jacksonville in the second round.
Wait, go ahead. He looked confused. He has to do military commitment.
Oh, that's why the Army attackman.
Yeah,
yes.
Sibes would have known that.
Well, he destroyed us at Colgate for 4 years.
And then they get Jack Myers attackman. So they went heavy after offense. They didn't pick up a single defender in this draft. They got Ferreira from Salisbury. Shout out to D3 in the 4th round. So they went heavy after the offensive side of the ball. How do you guys feel about them not taking anybody on the defensive side? I feel like they were pretty set.
Well, the defense is pretty set, right? They have Manley, right? It's Manley, JT, Giles Harris. Like Giles, he's the best defenseman in the world, I think, right now. That kid. Yeah. I mean, they have a cover.
Yeah, he's pretty damn good. And they also have Tarafanko. They have great short stick D guys. So yeah, I think that says a lot about their defense.
They also have a lot of toys on offense. So I'm like, where do those kids go?
Yeah, and unlike some other teams, like they are totally set at faceoffs. They have one of the top 3 guys in the league, and he is the biggest faceoff guy in the league as well. So, you don't have to worry about anything with Connor. He's going to be ready to go.
He drinks his milk. Yep,
sure does. Chrome. Maybe people weren't. I think getting Hanley was just a shock, and they were good after that. But the Archers getting their 5th pick, they picked up Sisselberger with their 1st pick.
Did you predict that?
I don't think they trusted that he would be there any longer if they didn't get him right away. And you're talking about a team that if they could just have been 50% in the playoffs, they would have probably had at least 1 ring, probably 2 at this point. So Justin Inacio. So here's the thing. The Archers are in a similar situation with the Whips. Now, the Whips have a guy who has proven himself for years with Nardella. But like you had said earlier, Scotty, like Inacio started to come on towards the end of the year. He started to figure it out.
Yep.
Then he blew his knee out, and he's coming back. He will be ready at some point this summer. But you can't take a chance on it if you're the Archers, especially with a rebuild. And you have Shribes, who is still, in my opinion, the best player in the world, but his clock is starting to tick. Right? Yeah. So it's like, we got to win now. We can't take any chances. So I like what they did with their attack after they lost Holman. I love what their offense looks like. They just got to get the ball.
Shribes is he's living in dog years, though, because he's double dipping. He's playing both
Didn't
leagues.
He just set some record in the NLL?
Yeah.
Didn't he set a record for points?
Yeah. So he's like,
he's going to play Worlds again this year. So
and he's playing at an MVP level in both leagues. I mean, he's literally like in 40 right now. In pro lacrosse.
Yeah, so I think from an offensive standpoint, they feel really good. I think what the Archers want to do for the first time is really have a great defense that matches that offense.
Yeah.
And you solve that by, one, having more possessions on faceoffs. You have, one of the top 5 college faceoff men of all time in Sisselberger, who is also a jacked manimal.
I found out watching the draft that he wrestles at Lehigh.
He walked onto the wrestling team at Lehigh.
It's legit.
That's nuts. He was a incredible high school wrestler in PA. So now you have that guy who can fit into any locker room in the world. He's the sweetest kid of all time. I think that he will be able to adapt very quickly to the PLL. Then they picked up all defenders after that. So with the second round pick, the Archers took Connor Mayer from North Carolina, stud Shorty D.
Shout out D-Mids.
Then with the third pick, they picked up another stud, Piper Bond from Penn.
A lot of Ivy.
2 D-Mids.
Then their final pick was Cam Wires from Loyola, who's also a stud. Like I said before, another guy who in any other year probably would have been a second round pick.
Dude, that's a lot of youth on defense, though.
It is. I don't think the learning curve is as deep from a short stick D standpoint, because when you're athletic, you can hang and you just pick it up. What? You don't believe me?
I don't think the learning curve is hard for this whole class because they're 28 years old.
Yeah, they're all middle aged. Dude, we've been talking about this for months. There's a whole bunch of guys that are going to be like, have ARP memberships.
Where would you, not to get off topic, where would you guys have done your 5th year? If it wasn't Notre Dame or Penn State?
I would play club at Clemson.
If I had to do 1 5th year and I could go anywhere I want, I would have gone to Maryland.
Maryland?
Yeah. Just because I love hanging out in Baltimore. So yeah, you totally got off topic there.
Yeah, back to the draft.
But yeah, so the Archers, I think, they went the exact opposite route that the Chrome did. They said, look, our strength is our offense. We just got to get these guys the ball. And if we can get them the ball half the time and we have a more shored up young defense that can do their thing, then we're going to win games. And I totally agree with that approach.
Who's returning for the Archers on defense? Because I know Ratliff gone, who gets gone. I mean, they're rebuilding totally.
Completely rebuilding that defense.
Jeez. It's dicey.
And I think a great place to start is to get 2 stud Shorty D guys. And then McMahon, is McMahon still there?
I don't know.
Check.
They need one vet. You need one vet to teach people the ropes.
Yeah, I feel like I'm forgetting somebody who's obvious. So yeah, I think the Archers, their plan was very obvious: get the ball more often and stop people from scoring. Real simple.
Yeah, you forgot Hossack. That's who it was.
That's right.
He's a stud,
and he's coming back. Isn't he coming back from an injury?
He's coming from indoor. I want to say he's an indoor guy, right?
Yeah, I thought Graham.
He's a fucking he's a serial killer.
He's an absolute superstar. Yeah. So yeah, Archers went after D and possession. So then the Whips are in an interesting spot because you're like, who the hell could they possibly pick up? Like, what are they going to do? Jay Carlson just retired. So what do? They go and they get Tucker Dordovic.
Stud.
Absolute stud, who I think is going to thrive in the PLL's looser. You take the handcuffs off him, let him get out of the whole system thing and be himself. But he's going to play for the Whips, who have a very established veteran-led offense that plays a single way, hit singles.
I don't like that pick at all.
Why?
I think Tucker Dornovic I think he's a volume shooter, and I know that's a disciplined offense, right? So like there's vets too, like Rambo runs that show. Channy gets the volume sometimes, so that's going to be an adjustment for Tucker. I think just to
it's
take
all going to be an adjustment because I think he's going to be coming out of the box.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
also
think he did that at Cuse, right?
But
matchup nightmare.
But I also don't think I think the Jay Carlson retirement actually was more towards Manny being acquired. I mean, that's kind of what I thought because it's Manny, Rambo, and Zed now.
Yeah. So I think Dordovic, he's going to come out of the box. He's going to be a matchup nightmare, and I think they're going to be able to spin it. That's kind of really intelligent on Staggs' part. If you can try to pull an extra pole up to the midfield, you got Channy shooting twos. You got to stay on his hands at all times. You have Tucker coming out of the box.
And he can shoot twos.
Put 2 poles up on mid, not with that attack. So yeah, it creates a matchup situation. Then they went and did exactly what I thought they were going to do. They went and got Petey LaSalle in the second round. And when you pick up, people are like, oh, what are you going to do if Nardella comes back? Whatever. Look, this is a second ACL injury, okay? And Joe is still in his prime, so I have no qualms with saying that he's going to be able to return and still be himself. But if you're Stags, you don't want to take that chance. This team is loaded. You want to get back to the promised land. And you pick up a guy who, in my opinion, is kind of a Joe 2.0. He's younger, he's stronger, and he's got faster hands. He can handle the ball really well. Say he goes, I think he's going to be just fine in the PLL. I think he's going to come in. I think he's going to learn relatively quickly. Maybe at first game will be a little rough, and then he'll pick it up. And then if he plays well, what do you got? You got two guys. One of them is trade fodder now.
Scotty,
Right?
why are you shaking your head? You don't agree?
I didn't love that. I mean, I don't love that pick just because I know how much Nards, the respect that Nards gets in that locker room and with that culture. I just know either Nards is going to be all in on it to help the kid, or Nards is going to fucking try to, win his spot. But either way,
Yeah, but Scotty, this is professional lacrosse. To be totally frank, no one gives a about your feelings. Like if you're Joe Nardella, like if I'm Greg Gorenlian, like my final year, they drafted a face-off guy. They got Johnny Garino from Maryland, who had a great. I took him under my wing and I helped him out. And in a couple games, Joe dressed him and we shared reps. Why? Because I was done after that year. Now for Joe, if I'm Joe Nardella, I'm sitting here going, it's all good. Like he's taking my spot. What am I going to do? Be angry that you have a face-off guy taking face-offs while I'm hurt? Yeah. Right? Like they gotta. And if I'm Rambo, I'm like, hey man, you're my dude. I'm not going to sit here and go 5% because of your feelings.
Yeah.
So
I mean, listen, goalies and face-off are very similar. So I know for me as a vet, when Kyle Bernlohr, we took Bernlohr, Ohio guy, when I was in the machine, and I was like, at first I was like, fuck, motherfucker. And then I was like, you know what? I can either be a good teammate or a bad teammate, but one day it's going to be the keys to his Cadillac. So yeah, that sucks. But you're right. It's pro sports.
Yeah. And look, and if I'm Joe, if I know anything about Joe Nardella, it's that he's a competitor. Oh, yeah. And if I'm him, I'm going, yeah, bring in the best possible guy. I want a ring. Like, and when I get back, I'm going to take that job back. And if I don't, then I'm going to go to a team. Who's not going to trade for Joe? Right? Like,
right.
So if I'm Stags, I'm going, this is awesome. I have I have a face-off guy who has won more face-offs than any other person in Virginia history. That's a hell of a thing to say.
Did they bring in an LSM? Because Mike's probably on his last go, right?
Yeah, I think Mike's going to hang it up soon. But they picked up, I don't think they needed to pick up an LSM this year, but they got Ledman from Duke as a midi. And then they took Elijah Gash from Albany.
I think he's close to.
I think they're going to wait one more year before they make that. I don't think you rush and take an LSM that you don't think is going to play until Earhart's actually done. And remember, like we talked about, next year will be the last year that we have 26-year-olds graduating because of the blanket waiver. So there's going to be more studs next year to come out. So let's move on to the Chaos. So you have the Chaos. They picked up Will Bowman, which another stud defender. He was the 4th in the first round from Georgetown. Absolute glue guy. Then they went and they got
Towers. Towers thought he was the best player in the draft. He thought he was going number 1 overall to the Atlas.
I love Andy Towers, but I will take everything he says when it comes to that kind of hyperbole with a grain of salt, because Andy will look you straight in the eyes and tell you that they have the best player at every position.
Fair enough.
Regardless. Now, that being said, he did pick up a stud. And I was actually on the Outside the Box podcast live when this pick was made, and Jared Newman was on the podcast with us, and Jack Rowlett immediately FaceTimed him, and they were freaking out. They were so pumped.
You see him on Twitter? Rowlett was going off on Twitter. He said this is the best day of his life.
Coaches him.
Yeah. Right. Well, of course it's the best day of his life. His little brother got drafted too on his team.
That's true.
Shit.
So, yeah. So, I know Boyle was a little down on this pick because Boyle was like, dude, you already have a stud defense. What you needed to do was replace all the moving parts you lost on offense. But then they went in the second round and they got Minikis from Georgetown. From Colgate.
4 years at Colgate, 5th year.
Yeah, but then he actually learned how to play the game this year. I'm kidding. Nick Kerr was going to come kill me. I'm kidding.
He was a freshman. I was a senior. Great guy.
And then they did what I thought they should absolutely do. Nick Rowlett, 3rd round, pick up Jack's brother. He is very prepared for the PLL. I think Nick Rowlett has lightning fast hands. He actually won our national showcase with the FOA in 2017. Kid's a stud. So he's part of that Michigan doubleheader face-off tandem that is running right through the Big Ten. So good for him. Good for the Chaos. And then they finish it off with Levi Anderson from St. Joe's. Big, strong, very versatile attackman.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think they had a very good draft. I think Andy got what he needed.
Levi Anderson's the kid that went off in the Final Four not last year, was it?
Yeah.
Or
You're right.
Quarters, right?
Quarters.
Yeah, so, dude, that kid is going to fit in perfectly. He's Canadian, I think, also. But
100%.
Here's the thing with the defensive draft pick. Newman shouldn't have been celebrating, probably. Johnny Cerdic is back this summer. Rowlett is great. He's the cover. That kid, Bowman, might take Newman's spot.
I don't know, man.
But
Newman
Newman
close
can
for
play up.
LSM?
Yeah.
Newman can play up. And if Newman is
shoot.
playing up, we're talking Mo 2 bombs.
But I think Bowen can too. I think Bowen can play LSM.
Yes, he can.
Yeah.
All right, last team. Oh, not last team because Kansas didn't have a first round pick.
Yeah, so you have the Water Dogs. They picked up McConvey from Virginia. Very solid pick. He was the second midi taken. And then
Canadian stud.
And then they went and they got Mazzone from Hopkins. And Mazzone can play all over the field. He's the best defender on Hopkins. He's been like the linchpin to their unit all year. Chris Fake from Notre Dame in the 3rd round. Absolutely bonkers. So they pick up 2 stud defenders, which was great for them. And then with the last pick of the draft, Mr. Irrelevant was actually James Riley, who was the 5th faceoff guy taken in the draft.
Jesus
now,
Christ.
The reason Riley went later than some people might have thought, because he's pretty beat up and he's undersized already. So even though he's a very good technician, he's got a lot of moves in his pocket. In the PLL, it doesn't weigh as much as having the size and strength. And if he's already dinged up, it's going to be tough for him. But I like the pick. Withers is going to be doing the fireman thing a little bit. He may have a year or 2 left max. Mm-hmm. They have Zach Tucci, who I think could immediately come in and be the starter. I think he proved himself last year. So having this guy as like an extra person in camp is huge.
My question is, the goalie, is that goalie from Syracuse to transfer from LIU? Is he a senior? Is it Marks?
Goalie from Syracuse?
No
goalies were picked.
No, I know.
I don't know if he's a senior. I don't think so.
That kid's dope.
Yeah, I don't think he's a senior.
And what about the UMass goalie that just won like?
Yeah, Note. So Note was on. A lot of people were talking about him, and I was like, if that guy doesn't get picked, then literally nobody needs goalies, because I think he's a stud. And I think what you're seeing. Remember when the PLL announced that they were going to a franchise model next year, or at least a location-based model? I thought that was a little ahead of schedule.
Yeah, I just found that out now. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
how does it work now with all these guys that didn't get drafted? Can they get signed and picked up?
So these guys automatically become free agents, and they go into a player pool, and they can get picked up and asked to come to camp. And that's what's going to happen to a bunch of guys.
There's got to be some goalies getting that call.
There's going to be some goalies that get a call.
100%.
But I don't think anybody selected or used a pick on a goalie, because no one was in dire need of a starter. So yeah, I think the Water Dogs, another team that just did their thing. This draft was so deep, I feel like everybody got what they needed. And then the Cannons. So the Cannons were interesting, because I know we had talked a little bit off camera last week about the fact that with Holman coming in as the new head coach, he likes ball movement. He likes fast offense. Holman is built for that. Does Lyle still fit as the guy at X for that team? Now, they didn't move Drenner. They didn't move Ryan Drenner at all, which we all assumed they probably would at some point this year. They didn't. Ryan Drenner was an All-American ex-attackman. I thought that we might see a trade on draft day of Lyle. Do you think that that's still something that can happen if they put Drenner at attack? Because when I look at their picks, They got, let's see, they got Matt Campbell as their first pick, midfielder from Villanova, who's a stud.
Shout out Sibes.
Yep, shout out to Sibes.
Fuck Sibes.
And then, no third rounder because they got absolutely nuked by the trade with Rabel.
Well, that's a horrible trade. They had 2 picks this year.
Yeah.
2.
And then they got Grant Amon. Not Grant Ament, Grant Amon from High Point, a defender. So it's interesting. They seem comfortable with what they have. And the question is going to be, does Drenner come out of the box or does Drenner get the keys to the offense?
He doesn't get the keys to the offense.
You don't think so? Okay.
No.
Why not, Scotty?
You have Lyle Thompson.
Okay. Well, look, nobody bid on that on Twitter either because I asked the question and everyone's like, this guy's out of his mind. I'm not even going to respond.
It wouldn't be a bad idea, but
I'm just asking because I know Brian Holman and the way he likes to run his offense. And it's not one guy dodges and eventually either dives in the crease and scores or draws 3 guys and passes it.
Listen, you are correct. In an ideal Holman offense, everyone's touching that ball. It's moving. It's team-oriented offense, but you have Lyle. Like that's the situation.
I totally agree. Okay.
So he's gonna touch it.
So yeah, I mean, they only had 2 picks in this draft. And they seem very comfortable with what they got going on offense. I love the Villanova kid. And then they picked up a defender. And
Paul really fucked them up, huh?
Yeah. So
what a bad trade.
Hey, you know what? Maybe it was a long play. They ended up with Lyle because of it. So
I have some recapping questions.
Okay.
I need a rookie of the year pick right off the bat coming off this draft.
Dwarnovic.
You just said you didn't like that pick.
He gets fucking shoot. And the 2-pointer, though, for a rookie, that's the only one that I could see like hitting those shots.
I mean, a D guy, I don't think could win the award.
I don't think it's a shame. I don't think a D guy could win it either. But with how much the Chrome may lean on him, I could see Handley being a rookie of the year.
Yeah. Greg, I actually love that pick for the Chrome because we always were kind of the one thing about the Chrome we always talked about was like the dodging midfielder, right? They need a guy that could kind of create. And I think he is that. And it gets a little more stress off at Justin Anderson, right? So Justin Anderson now could do his thing.
Yeah. I also think there's a chance because they both rookies play with very prolific offenses. One of the 2 face-off guys taken, Sisselberg or LaSala, if they do well and they face off at over 50% and their team is scoring goals and they're high in the standings, that's also a possibility.
Are those 2 guys day one starters? Are they the guy on the X right away?
So LaSala, yes. With Archers, it's going to be interesting whether Inacio, I don't know if he's going to be 100% for game 1 or not. But if he's not,
this isn't real. This debate, right?
Why?
No face-off guys winning Rookie of the Year.
Didn't TD win Rookie of the Year?
TD was one of the fucking most legendary college face-off guys.
If a guy crushed it, he could totally win the award.
Sisselberger is the single-season all-time face-off leader.
Okay,
Scotty, you're just butthurt. No goalies got picked.
Has taken more college face-offs than anyone in history.
There's only 2 MVPs I know that are face-off guys. You and Baptiste. You're both pretty legendary. That's about it.
Hey,
Greg.
I appreciate that, but we're not talking MVPs. We're talking Rookie of the Year.
Still not happening.
Greg, where'd you go in the draft, in the MLL draft?
I was number 23. I was the 3rd face-off guy taken.
Damn.
And the only reason I was drafted is because they had 10 teams that year.
Off the field issues? Is that why you dropped in the draft?
Yeah, they saw me doing keg stands at Penn State, and they're like, that form is terrible.
Scotty, what about you? When did you go in the draft?
7. Just 7.
Overall.
Damn.
Highest
Scotty, where would you have gone in this draft?
1.
That's pretty solid, Scotty.
You would have gone number 1 in this draft?
And if I didn't, I should have.
Are you gonna be one of those goalie calls for a free agency? Or what are we thinking?
No, I'm not gonna be the pinata for a training camp for like
Scotty just signed with the Beans.
Hey, oh fucking asshole. What a fucking
Oh no. Trolling with Scotty Rogers. Here we go.
Oh, what's the dude's name? What's the dude's name again?
Ghetto
Gary Gate.
Needle Dick McDickle.
He wants to come on the podcast. I'm gonna let him.
Dude, Ghetto Gary Gate is low key one of my favorite people on the internet right now.
I told him he's got to bring his best stuff.
He's got to bring his best stuff. I love it.
I need 5 minutes.
Yeah. So yeah, I think from a draft standpoint, this was an awesome draft. I think it was interesting. Some drama there. We weren't quite sure how the first round was gonna. In the past, Scotty, I felt like a lot of ML drafts were like very obvious, very easy to tell. But this is indicative of what we were talking about, where the PLL is running into a issue where this bottleneck of talent is so crazy that there's probably 20 guys that could have made rosters that aren't.
They need another team. 100%.
Yeah. How many guys play on
you get to a point
roster
where
18?
Picking up, having new teams is hard when you're doing a tour-based model. So it kind of forces them into this location-based model, which is going to be interesting.
Dude, you know what I'm excited about? Fake. He is going to be an absolute monster because he's going to take this disrespectfully.
Yeah.
And he should.
I love Chris Fake's game because he's really good against big attackmen. He's he's probably the only defender who's been able to kind of lace up O'Neal.
I agree.
How many guys make a game day roster for PLO?
19.
You
got 2 goalies and an attack and a face-off guy, so that takes 3 spots away right away.
Wow, that's a small roster.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, bro.
You're talking 19 times, 9 teams? What's 19 times 9, Scotty? You went to Notre Dame.
It's Clay.
Okay. That's how many pro lacrosse players there are. That's nuts.
My last question post-draft, and then I have a take, but last question. What team now that it's over, some position team needs have been filled, who's winning the title?
Whew.
Chrome.
All right, I'm booking you for that.
It's going to be real hard for me to go to bet against Atlas now.
Really? Because they got those D guys. That's such a Pressler pick. I want you to give your take first, and then I
don't sleep on the Woods either. They got exactly what they needed in this draft. So,
yeah,
I'll book you for the Woods, Scotty Chrome.
Yeah,
don't sleep on the Woods in the next 4 years.
We got to get Aresti on here to talk after camp. We got to get Aresti on here so we can talk about what the teams are looking like after training camp in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll lock them in. But I was talking to Greg before we went live here, but I was watching the draft. Every PLL coach is extremely old, like so old. Like I feel like they need a young guy, and they need some young energy in there.
Well, we had Rubes, right?
Well,
Rubes was like,
Scotty, you're gonna love this. I was on the outside the box podcast, and as they were talking, we were looking at the screen for the picks. And I look down, I see Pressler, and in my head for one full second, I go, what the hell happened to Rubes? And I like totally forgot that that's not Rubes. It just got real old. It's Pressler.
Yeah.
wait,
but I was talking about Danny to Danny about like the coaches that are in the PLL. Only 2 of them are guys who haven't recently moved on from their college position, whether they resigned or they got fired or whatever. And that's Nat St. Laurent, who's currently the ONU coach. And who's the other one?
That's like it.
No, there's another one. And Sudes, he's not a college coach. So, but Copeland's young. Copeland's not old. Nat's not old.
Like I want young. Like
dude, Heels, you put a 32-year-old coach in there and see who actually respects
Heels, what do you
like,
want? You want me and Greg to coach, Heels?
Oh my God, yes. Team rise up. But no, like in the NFL, right? You have like Sean McVay coming in.
That was Rubes.
You got Shanahan. And to what happened? Like, I mean, but they need that energy. Like it's weird.
Andy
like,
Powers is gonna fuck you up if he listens to this.
The game has changed so much, and you have all these coaches with just white hair that the game is just old to them.
There's
like,
3 old coaches. Greg, what is he talking about?
There's like 9.
Scotty, you went to Colgate. What do you like? Take it easy on him, man.
Colgate's got a nice young coach. Like we had Crawley as our offensive coordinator. Like
you did
get
have
get
him.
Crawley the head
What's
job.
your record? What's your record?
Give
Yo, give him
500.
time. Kerwin's the man. Okay, I'm not gonna just to make fun of heels. I'm not gonna bash Kerwin and Cole.
Matt Carwick was my fucking. He hazed me at Notre Dame. I love him.
Kerwick is a stud.
Savage legend. I love Matt
And I
Carwick.
just
You
feel
guys,
bad for him.
you guys twisted that fucking wrong. That was not.
I don't know. We just need some younger energy as head coaches in the PLL.
Okay.
But no, that was a great recap, boys. I appreciate it.
You know what we should do? We should get some guys who have some PLL experience as the coaches. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. This league's been around for 3 years. So let's get a guy who's a vet in the PLL.
Who's the guy who is about to break your ground ball record when he's retired? Get him in the head job. Yeah, Brody.
Brody's not coming back to the coach of the PLL, dog. You kidding me? He's going to open up another Hill school in
Heels.
SoCal.
You just started.
Scotty, why don't you try it? No one would listen to you.
What? I'd fucking fight the kids on camera. Shut the
Move
fuck
on
up.
quickly. Next subject.
Move on.
No, I'm just stirring the pot. All right, that's my take. Great draft recap. But let's move on. Let's go to the because some of these kids are still playing, right? In college still. Conference championships for this past weekend. We got the NCAA tournament. The bracket is released. We'll go through each game. I'll read off the score and just hear you guys' thoughts. But we'll go through that and then we'll dive into a bracket preview.
Let's do it.
But Ivy League, Princeton, Yale, 19-10. Princeton just ran away with this one, right? And Greg, you were on them early.
Yeah, I wish Sibes pretended like he couldn't be on today. He knows I was going to drag him for this because I've been saying for the last 6 episodes, watch out for Princeton. I've been saying it. I knew they were going to have a shot at this title. I believe so deeply into Matt Madelon.
Yeah, he's great, bro.
Not just because he's my dude, but the kids love him. So yeah, they did it. I think there are 2 teams. There's 3 teams that really have crazy confidence right now. Duke, Michigan, and Princeton. I think those 3 teams are riding high with a lot of confidence right now. It's been a while since they've lost, and they're kicking ass. And, I think, Princeton they separated themselves 100%. So I'm still surprised that there's 3 teams from the Ivies in this, but yeah, I thought Princeton put a good stamp on the fact that they were the top dog in the Ivy with that tournament win.
And the Princeton goalie, 17 saves and an assist in that one.
Jesus.
Scotty.
Yeah.
How many assists did you have in your career?
I didn't leave the crease.
That's what I thought. But all right, Princeton team to watch this tournament. Big Ten, Michigan beat Maryland, their first ever conference title, and it was a whopping 14-5 Michigan.
Michigan's 2-headed face-off monster of Wheatfield and Rowlett is the deciding factor in the Big Ten right now. For the last couple of years, Maryland has been in a juggernaut offensively, and they've had the best face-off guy. And Michigan completely beat him up twice. And they had the ball the entire game against Penn State. And they are playing with such confidence because of it. They're getting the ball. They're efficient. They're killing it. I think Michigan could make some crazy noise in this thing. When you look at this bracket that they're in, they're going against Cornell, and I think it was +3. I think Michigan was +3 at the when DraftKings dropped the lines.
+2 right now.
Yeah, I told you. I jumped on those lines early. I took Michigan at +3 because as good as Jack Kaskaden has been for Cornell and as good as Angelo Petrakis has been, this is the best dynamic duo of faceoffs that I have seen in a really long time in college.
Am I wrong here? Like, why is Michigan lower seeded than Maryland in the tournament? Maryland got the 4 seed. Michigan beats them in their conference title, and they're unseeded playing number 8 Cornell.
So to be fair, because the Penn State in me wants to say, oh, they made this bracket before it was all over. But to be fair, there was no ACC tournament.
Yeah.
And the Big Ten scrambled themselves. So when you look at the Big Ten, the way the regular season finished up, it was Penn State, Hopkins, Maryland, Michigan. But then Michigan and Maryland win their semifinals, go to the championship game, and then Michigan crushes them. So all it really did was scramble up the order between 4, 5, and 6. And Michigan was pretty good throughout the year, but then they turned into a juggernaut the last couple of weeks. They really turned it on. And shout out to Connery, man. Holy crap. What a great job he's done. I know there was a little bit of it was a weird video post-game where he was giving dabs to all the assistants on Maryland, and Till's like, didn't even look at him. Barely shaked his hand. I wonder what that was about. But yeah, shout out to Connery. And that's why, look, Michigan, it's like college basketball, right? Team wins its championship, and you don't realize, like, oh, that team was actually 500 most of the year. But then they just got hot at the right time. So they went in, but I think if I'm Michigan, I'm ecstatic about this matchup. I think this is going to be a really good matchup for them.
We got to give a shout out, my roommate's alma mater, Bryant, right? Bryant's in, right?
Bryant's coming up. So America East, double overtime dub over Albany. This is our first year in the America East. They were in the NEC for a while, but yeah, I mean, double OT win. What a huge day.
I have Bryant covering as well. I don't. First off, can we just talk about for a second the selection show and how hilarious it's become? So they have the selection show and they show Hopkins, or they show Cornell, and Cornell's like, and they show Richmond and they're like, yeah. Penn State's like, yeah. And then Bryant looked like they just cranked up Ramstein.
Sick Selly.
They all took meth and they just started beating the shit out of each other.
That's what Bryant boys
Scotty,
do.
They were like falling off of chairs, tearing their shirts off. You were like, yo, I want to say act like you've been there before, but I guess you guys haven't. Holy shit. Yeah. But I love the reaction cam. So you don't have Bryant covering in that game.
No, I have like 7 best friends from Bryant, and I have Hopkins in that game.
No, okay. You take them to win, but wasn't it +5?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the spread.
Yeah. I think Bryant has some good face-off guys, and I think they play very confidently. There's also something to be said for having a 12-win season. I think that's something to be said for that. So,
what's your roommate thinking, Scotty? Gunner.
He's thinking he's going to tailgate Sunday, and well, I think it's a win-win either way for him.
Hey, he's not tailgating Sunday, Scotty.
You put Gunner in net. I'll take Bryant.
Scotty, Gunner's going to be in Vegas with me on Sunday.
No. Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, he ain't tailgating. He's going to be at Wet Republic in Vegas.
What are you doing at FOA in Vegas?
Yes.
That'll be a good time.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be just fine for Gunner.
Well, we'll see, because I'm rooting for our boy Carly too, who was on an episode a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
So shout out to Carly. Big East though, Georgetown. I mean, 14-5 win over Denver. Tierney's last game. Denver did not get into the tournament, but this is the fifth straight year the Hoyas have won the Big East.
Yo,
it's crazy.
They became the team everyone thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, we talked about them in the beginning of the season. We said they'll turn it on. You just got to let them.
They are who we thought they were.
Yeah,
the pieces, the Durdovic, all the guys that came in on the transfer portal, it all meshed together really well. I expect them to handle Yale.
It's the 5th year popular stop, which is confusing to me because Georgetown's not the most fun school in the world, but they got all these 5th years.
It's a great school to say that you
went to for a year.
For grad school. It's a great grad school year. And look, the type of person that goes there probably came from another school that had business or whatever, and they want to get into finance, and it's a great way to do that. Or
for another episode.
Yeah.
Pat League, Army beat Loyola. Army's in. They had a good season all year. Loyola kind of sucked. They ended they were 9-8, so basically 500.
But you know how me and Bees feel about Army's coach, man. I mean, I love that fucking guy. I root for him. Doesn't matter for me. I root for him anytime.
Yeah, Army, if you're a team on the bubble, Army did what you were hoping that would happen. The teams that really effed you were Michigan and Princeton.
Yep.
Michigan and Princeton completely evaporated the bubble.
Yep.
Who were the bubble teams that didn't get in?
Villanova, UPenn, and Denver.
Sorry, Sibes.
See
Sucks.
you, Sipes.
Yeah. But you know what? It was interesting. Terry Foy said the same thing on Twitter. It was one of the most obvious fields of all time. Like, you look at this field and you're just kind of like, I mean, yeah, maybe you could have swapped Yale with Penn. But like, that was literally the only thing that you could really argue about. Other
winners, we got Delaware over Stony Brook. I think Delaware could be a problem. I think they could they have the playing game, then they have to play the number 1 seed, right? I think they could put them on upset alert.
They have the athletes. They always do.
Yeah. I mean, Marist is a team that has gotten red hot the last few weeks. They crushed everybody in the tournament.
And they're tough. They're tough, man.
They're tough. They won a shit ton of faceoffs. They're scoring in bunches. I mean, that's going to be an awesome game. That play-in game is going to be great to watch. I want to see that Marist offense versus the Delaware defense.
It'll be a good game. But yeah, Duke will probably stomp on both of them.
Whoever wins is getting shit stomped by Duke. But yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Upset alert, though. Other conference tournaments, we got the A-Sun, Utah. Their 5th season as a D1 program. They got the first conference title. So
Love
shout out
that.
to Utes.
Dude, that's awesome.
It's a great
awesome,
man, right?
Good for them. I mean, a coaching change, it's pretty cool. It's very cool to see Utah and Michigan, very prominent basketball and football schools that have added Division I lacrosse within the last few years, make it into the tournament. It's awesome for the sport.
Last conference tournament, then we'll dive into the games. Richmond beat High Point. That's pretty typical.
Yeah, but Richmond was going to win that conference.
I mean, Richmond always has a great defense, so you never know in the tournament, man. They could be stingy as hell.
Yeah. All right, let's pick some winners. You guys are each picking winners against the spread, and after round 1, we'll follow up. I'll have Sibes follow up, and we'll chirp who had the better record. But I know, Greg, you've been on freaking fire. You sent me your bet slip, so I'm expecting.
We're
you
talking
to win
nearly
over
70% the last few weeks, Heels. So I can't bet on any New York games. So what's the spread for Delaware Marist?
Delaware Marist, that spread, I don't know because I didn't look at the playing games. So can't tell you that one.
We're just half-assing this tonight.
So I know I'm going to go down from Saturday's, the first game, to the last game on Sunday.
All right,
so
let's do regardless. I think if Marist wins, Duke beats them by 8 to 9. I think if Delaware wins, I think Duke beats them 6 to 7. I'm not talking scores. I'm talking by 6 or 7 goals.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Because if I'm Dino and we're up big, I'm resting some guys in the fourth quarter so that I can prepare for the next round.
I bet the spread's going to be like 9 or whatever on that game.
Yeah, it's going to be like 8.5. Yeah.
So they'll probably cover. All right. Richmond, Virginia is the first game at noon on Saturday. Virginia's 8-point favorites. Do they cover?
Virginia is going to win most of the faceoffs. Their offense is going to get hot. I can see them getting up early and cruising. What was the spread again?
8.
Yeah. I feel like they're going to win exactly by 8.
So that's push.
Yeah. I'm going to bet on the push there.
Scotty?
I mean, honestly, I feel like Helen Keller in this segment. Virginia wins.
It's a good pick.
Good.
Money line on Virginia. Good for you.
Utah, Notre Dame.
You'll win 15 cents.
Keep going.
This one you know about, Scotty. This one you know about. I want a good pick here. Utah, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's 8-point favorites. Do they mollywop?
Notre Dame covers.
Greg?
Utah, Notre Dame, 8. Yeah, I believe Notre Dame covers. They've been pretty good against the spread this year.
Yeah.
Third game Saturday, sorry. Yale, Georgetown. It'll be a good game. Georgetown is 2.5 goal favorites.
Yes, I'm taking Georgetown at 2.5. Definitely.
I take the over.
You're taking the over?
Tell you what the OU was.
Yeah. I don't know if Scotty's ever. Have you ever placed a bet in your life, Scotty?
No.
Like a real
I
bet?
gamble on myself.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't imagine Scotty. Scotty's too emotional.
Well, the over means over-under on points, total goals for the game. So You're saying Yale's gonna cover that. Is that what you're saying?
I'm confused. Next game.
Don't worry about it.
No,
Scotty, you give us the money line, meaning you tell us who's going to win the game.
Scotty doesn't know money line either. Hey, maybe we have some listeners that don't know what betting is either. So Scotty, real quick, for simple terms in betting here, the favorite. So when I say Georgetown's a 2.5 goal favorite, they need to win the game by 3 goals to cover that bet. Or if they don't, and it's a 2-goal win by Georgetown, Yale covers that bet. So that's how spreads work in betting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the over-under is the total amount of goals scored. So are they going to go over it or under it is the other bet.
And money line means the team is just going to straight up win, but your odds are going to be worse if you're betting money line on a heavy favorite.
I hate learning. Let's go.
Okay, next thing.
We're going a few more games. Army, Maryland 3-point favorites. Who you got?
Taking Army. I'm taking Army with that +3. I think it's going to be a tighter game than that.
Scotty, now that you know what betting is, what's your pick?
I'm just taking Maryland to win.
Money line.
Money line.
All right. We'll teach you later. All right. Now Gunners team, Brian Hopkins, we talked about it earlier. Hopkins is 5-point favorites.
I'm taking Brian to cover that.
Yeah, I'm going to second that.
Gunner would appreciate that.
And I have to.
Michigan, Cornell, 2-goal favorites.
See, now this is tough because I had it at 3 and I have Michigan covering at 3. 2. That's going to be tough. Nah, I'm still taking, I think it's going to be a 1-goal game. I'm taking Michigan at +2.
I think you got to ride the hot team coming off the Tourney.
You have to, man. You have to.
Yeah, I'll take. I thought my brain is scrambled. I'll take Michigan.
Michigan, it is. You're booked. All right, Duke, Marist, or Delaware. We don't know yet. So last game, Princeton, Penn State. Greg, your alma mater. Penn State is favorites, 1.5-goal favorites. You going with your boys?
I'm actually shocked that Penn State's favored in this game.
I mean, they're the higher seed by a lot.
They are the higher seed. They're trending. They had a week off. Then they lost. Princeton is lightning hot. And I think I'm going to take the +1.5 from Princeton because I think if Penn State is going to win this, they're going to win it by a goal. I think I've said it before that what I love about this Penn State team is they don't seem fazed by tight games. They seem to come out on top almost every time. But I think it's going to come down to a possession. It's late possessions between these two. I'm going to take the 1.5 for Princeton, even though I think Penn State's going to eke it out.
Because Beast is my brother. I'm taking Penn State.
Book it. All right, boys. We'll check in after and see how Greg did because Scotty, I don't know how many picks you made, but
0.
That's a wrap, fellas.
That of course, now that I'm doing this, I'm going to go 0 for 12.
Yeah, I know. Now that it's in the public eye. I'm gonna ride you. So I'm gonna actually bet on all the picks you did because you've been hot. So
Thanks,
I'll let you know if I'm broke or rich.
Tension, a lot of sexual tension from you just there. Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride you.
Okay.
That's a wrap, fellas. That's an episode. That's a wrap. So do you think I could take Saib's job or what?
No, you actually you fucking brutal.
All right. Well, I guess we'll let Sibes come back next week then.
We should do heels and Sibes and let them do a show, and Scotty and I will just judge it.
Yeah, you just chirp the whole time.
No, I think this was an awesome. I mean, this was great. I mean, I love how big the PLL draft is becoming. You're seeing guys having watch parties with their families and their teams. You saw Cornell, the whole locker room went nuts when Adler got picked. That's awesome for the sport. And I'm glad we got a chance to look at this bracket. It's just really cool to watch. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what we're going to end up talking about next week. It's going to be a wild weekend.
Scotty, give us some motivation to end it, and then I'll sign us off.
Get 1% better every fucking day.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Did you get 1% better today? You get 1% better?
Yeah.
You got 2% better. Bro.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to the #1 podcast in the world. This is Rise Up. Make sure you subscribe wherever you are listening. Watch on our TorchPro YouTube channel. Danny Seibel will be back in the saddle next week, and I'm fired. So,
and
but
you
thanks for
guys
having
could
me, boy.
and you guys could watch Healy when he interviews Dana White. He's very big time.
Check out the Pass the Torch podcast. I would appreciate it. Thanks for the shout out there, Scotty. And we will see you next week, folks.
Peace.